For years, gardeners have been told that raised beds are the gold standard. They're clean, tidy, and promise better yields. But what if I told you that much of what we've been sold about raised beds is half true at best? Many gardeners are now realizing that those neat wooden boxes might actually be working against soil health in the long run. The real secret to thriving gardens isn't building up, it's building down. There's an old $5 ground trick that regenerates soil faster, holds more water, and grows stronger crops than any raised bed ever could. And it's hiding right beneath your feet. Raised beds isolate your soil instead of improving it. Let's start with the problem. Raised beds were originally designed for poor or compacted ground, where gardeners needed to import fertile soil to get started. But when you put good soil into a box and seal it off from the natural ground, you cut off one of nature's most powerful systems, soil biology. So earthworms, fungi, and microorganisms just can't move freely between layers, and those deep-rooting plants that usually draw up minerals from the subsoil, or they simply can't reach down either. The result really is a closed ecosystem that depends on constant human input. More compost, more fertilizer, more water. Over time, raised bed soil becomes compacted, depleted, and honestly, rather lifeless unless it's heavily managed. The $5 ground trick, well, it flips that idea on its head by working with the natural soil layers instead of trapping them. It reconnects the surface with the living web beneath and creates the conditions where soil feeds itself again. So, the $5 trick begins with a spade and a thin layer of organic matter. Here's what serious soil builders have rediscovered. Loosening and feeding the ground directly is actually more powerful than just stacking new soil above it. For less than $5, you can transform an ordinary patch of dirt into a deep, rich bed that, well, functions like living compost. The method starts with shallow trenching. No machines, no double digging needed. You simply take a garden spade and loosen the top 8 to 10 inches of soil without flipping it over. The goal here is to aerate, not invert. Once you've loosened the soil, you simply sprinkle a layer of carbon-rich material like shredded leaves, old straw, or even dry grass, about an inch thick right on top. Next, you'll want to water this layer with a simple microbial activator, which is just 1 tablespoon of molasses or brown sugar dissolved in a gallon of water. This costs next to nothing, but it really gives microbial activity a proper jump start. As the microbes wake up, they begin digesting the organic matter right where it sits. Within just a few days, earthworms move upward to feed, dragging those organic particles deeper into the loosened soil. This is essentially nature's version of tilling, what we call biological tilling. The result is a soft, dark, and nutrient-dense soil layer that extends downward instead of upward. Raised beds dry out quickly because they're elevated and exposed to air on all sides. In contrast, a biologically active ground bed holds moisture naturally. The organic layer acts like a sponge, absorbing rainfall and releasing it slowly. Meanwhile, the microlife underground keeps tunnels open for air and water exchange. Over time, this system builds humus, a stable form of organic matter that binds soil particles together. In just one season of using this method, gardeners often notice their soil darkening and becoming more crumbly. It resists compaction drains better in heavy rain and holds moisture longer in drought. In fact, studies on similar biological ground systems show that humus content can triple in a single year without adding imported compost. The key is that you're not isolating soil life, you're feeding it. Adding a thin green layer speeds up the process even more. This could be, fresh grass clippings, chopped weeds, or kitchen scraps spread thinly over the carbon layer. Aim for a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 parts dry browns to 1 part greens. This ratio maintains aerobic decomposition without turning the layer slimy or smelly. Once laid down, cover everything with a mulch layer about 2 inches thick. Straw, wood shavings, or even partially decomposed leaves work perfectly. This cover stabilizes moisture and temperature, protecting the microbial life below. Within 2 weeks, if you pull back the mulch, you'll notice fungal threads weaving through the material and the soil beneath turning dark. That's the sign that humus is forming, living soil in action. This method turns your entire garden into one big raised bed without walls or cost. What's fascinating about this approach is that it eliminates the boundary between bed and ground altogether. You don't need wood, screws, or imported soil. Every square meter of land can become a self-contained ecosystem that gets better with age. The longer you maintain the organic layering, the deeper and richer your soil becomes. Over time, even the hardest clay transforms into loose, black loam that rivals any garden mix money can buy. Quite remarkable, isn't it? And maintenance couldn't be simpler. Instead of refilling or turning compost, you just top up the surface with more leaves or straw at the end of each season. The soil organisms do all the mixing for you. Isn't that just brilliant? This approach mirrors natural forest systems, where the top layer of fallen leaves feeds the soil year after year without any human help. It's nature's own way, really. So, a gardener in Pennsylvania actually tried out this system on some really compacted clay, using nothing but fall leaves and a simple molasses spray. And within just 1 year, the top 6 inches of his soil had turned dark and crumbly, and, well, earthworm populations just exploded. Another example, this time from southern Ohio, showed a yield increase of about 40% in tomatoes and beans, simply by switching from raised beds to ground-fed layering. The best part is, honestly, the cost. Most of the materials were free. So really, the only expense here was a bag of molasses and, well, just a little bit of sweat equity. If your soil happens to be sandy and drains a bit too quickly, you'll want to add more carbon-rich layers, and honestly, just keep the mulch a bit thicker, about 3 inches or so. Now, for dense clay, it's best to increase the loosening depth slightly to, say, around 10 inches, and use more straw to help maintain the structure. In both cases, the microbes will, over time, naturally balance out the soil texture for you. Stop feeding plants from above, start building fertility from below. The beauty of this $5 ground trick is that it restores the original design of soil ecosystems. Instead of forcing fertility from the surface down, you're nurturing it from the bottom up. Once your soil becomes biologically active, you'll notice a huge difference in plant health: deeper roots, better water retention, and stronger pest resistance. So the truth is, raised beds are really just a man-made shortcut that honestly costs more money and effort than necessary. Living ground soil, properly fed, will always outperform any boxed garden because it works with the biology that nature already built. So, before you buy another load of lumber or bag of raised bed mix, just take a shovel and give this method a try. It costs less, works faster, and honestly, it keeps improving every year without any replacement. If you found this guide useful, don't forget to subscribe to Soil Doctor and share this video with your fellow gardeners. Let's bring back the natural, ground-fed way of growing, the method that builds humus, saves money, and outlasts every raised bed in the long run.